If you're a regular listener, you know we love our Three Spirit drinks.
They are the non-alcoholic spirit drinks that are taking the world by storm.
Three Spirit is a range of 3 distinct drinks, each with its own unique flavor and effect.
The Livener is a refreshing and invigorating drink that is perfect for starting your day or night.
The Social Elixir is a smooth and sophisticated drink that's perfect for sharing with friends.
And the Nightcap is a calming and relaxing drink that's perfect for winding down before bed.
All 3 drinks are made with plant-based ingredients and are free from alcohol, gluten, and sugar. They are also vegan and ethically sourced.
So, whether you're looking for a delicious and refreshing drink to enjoy on its own, or a sophisticated non-alcoholic alternative to cocktails, Three Spirit is the perfect choice for you.
Try Three Spirit today and discover the difference. Visit us.threespiritdrinks.com and use the promo code The Activity Continues for 15% off your entire order.
Cheers!
That one was our best one yet. Hi, Ghosty fam. Megan here. Welcome to The Activity Continues, a podcast where 3 friends and soul sisters recap episodes of the TV show The Dead Files and talk about any other creepy shit that pops into our brains while we're recording. Some weeks we do listener stories, so please feel free to send us yours. And other weeks we interview interesting people, and this is one of the interview weeks. So Amy, who are we talking to this week?
Today we are talking to Travis Bilbrey. I hope I'm saying his name right. Who's that, you ask? Well,
I did ask that.
He just happens to be the sketch artist from the Dead Files season finale.
NBD.
What?
No big
NBD,
deal.
like no big deal.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
I will translate the slang that Megan is so hip on.
I'm super
I know
hip.
what it means. I just didn't think I heard her right.
Most people hope they don't hear me right.
The season finale was called The Eternal Haunting, and it aired on October 19th, right? I had
Right.
the
Correct.
dates wrong last
Megan's
time.
birthday.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
That's right.
To
Happy
me.
birthday to Megan.
Happy
So-
birthday month to all of us.
Yes,
Yes.
we had a good month celebrating all our birthdays,
Mhm.
and there's only one more day. Well,
Two more days.
2 more days of this month left. We are recording this on October 29th.
Yep.
And it's a Sunday afternoon.
Mhm.
And anyway, The Eternal Haunting, I'm going to just read you the little synopsis here. Kentucky's Octagon Hall is known for its paranormal activity, but that activity has turned violent following the death of the Civil War Museum's founder. Staff and guests are scared out of their minds, and if things continue down this tumultuous path, Museum Director Barry will have no choice but to shut the whole place down.
Sure.
Sure.
Exactly at what point would he actually shut it down?
And at what point are we
The answer to that
classifying that people were scared out of their minds? Because I never encountered that feeling.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, we have some thoughts
Anyways.
about this. We have some thoughts,
What?
but AP has some content warning for you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. AP here. Yeah, this was a fun episode to watch a couple of times and be like, wait, what? So
Mhm.
can't wait to get into that and looking forward to talking to Travis as well.
Yes.
We do have some content warning. There may be more that comes up. However, we know racism because KKK, who gives a fuck whatever they're called, but
Call them by the wrong name. They deserve it.
yeah, they deserve it. Racism is active when we hear KKK around slavery and enslaved peoples. And I would say I was very pleased with Steve using the term enslaved peoples, which may be the
I was
first time he used that
shocked.
at all. And I think because the researcher that he had worked with said that. But then there's also child death in history. I'm sure there's some other things that will pop up, but those were the things that I mean, there's a lot of stuff with the Civil War, being that it was in the
Rape
South.
of enslaved people.
Yep. The
They
rape
talk about that.
That's
Yep.
right. Yep. Yep.
Yep. Rape and sexual abuse, being part of the Civil War and being in the South. We hear a lot of negative towards the Union soldiers. And then we also hear a lot about Confederate sympathizers. There is Confederate flags flying around this museum.
It's a whole thing.
Mhm.
Yep. So a lot of different things there. So just to keep in mind, that's what's out there.
Yep. Listen, if if any of those are a trigger to you, totally understandable.
Yep.
Just, maybe don't listen.
If you watched the Dead Files episode, you'll probably be fine because we're not even
Right.
going to talk about all of that stuff. That's just
That's just what was in the episode.
Mhm.
And we may or may not discuss it too much, but just so that you know, if you watch the episode, you're fine. Probably listening to us, and I will put anything else that comes up. I'll put that all.
We
in
are
the
not
show notes.
Confederate sympathizers.
We are not.
No.
It's true.
Shocking. I'm sure
I
some
know,
of you are like,
I know.
what?
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 Mhm.
They're like, that's the whole reason I was listening. Well, sorry.
Time to turn it off.
Yeah. 1865 happened. Let's go back.
So
No.
a couple of little show news kind of stuff.
Housekeeping.
We did recap what we are now affectionately or not affectionately calling the Britney episode. That is, Isolated number 12, episode 12. We recorded that the same day that we recorded the other one that
Burning Hatred.
We called a lost episode. Yeah. Because the recording was so bad that I couldn't salvage it. And so we had to re-record that episode. We have not yet re-recorded the Britney episode.
Mhm.
And I think what we're going to end up doing is just because our patrons, we've in the chat, we've been seeing that everybody has thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
And so we
And
thought
they're
it would be
similar
fun.
to our thoughts.
Yes. So we were thinking that it might make more sense to just do
Mhm.
that as a group.
Mhm.
Like we'll do a Patreon happy hour and we'll do that as a group. And then we'll all sort of rake her over the coals.
Yes.
And then we will put that on Patreon. So I don't know yet if it's going to be one that everybody, even free members, will be able to see, or if we'll just do it for paid members. But
Mhm.
either way, it'll be on Patreon. We're not going to put it on the regular feed. Maybe in the future we will if it's really great or something.
And
but
if you're not a Patreon yet, it's only $1 a month.
Yep.
So
come on over.
12 smackaroonies a year. I don't know what it is in other currency because I'm American and we were never educated on other cultures in the world. So
the UK pounds are about 1.2 or 1.27 or something right now. So about $1.20. Well, buck here. A quid was it?
I don't know.
A
I don't
pound.
know.
A pound
Zoe's
20.
yelling at us right now.
Zoe knows.
Poor Zoe.
I know. So that's the deal on that. Come on over. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter,
Mhm.
especially if you're not on social media. And then we did discuss this when we recorded the Britney episode, but because we're not airing that, I
Mhm.
want to go over this again. Dead Files may or may not be renewed. We do not know yet.
Mhm.
So we are still trying to figure out what we're going to do for the next season. And we are looking for your input. Would you like us to go back and grab old Dead Files episodes? Or would you like us to do a whole nother show? Or would you like us to just keep interviewing people? Or,
A mixture of all of the above?
All of the above, none of the above, come up with a new idea.
Mhm.
One of our patrons, Heather,
Mhm.
did suggest that we go back in time to older creepy TV shows like Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, The Hitchhiker, the Ray Bradbury Theater, and these old school, she calls them old school from childhood, freaky,
Mhm.
creepy WTF shows. So that's an idea. That would be something fun to do. Some old Twilight Zones or something.
Yep.
So if anybody has any ideas,
Shoot them our way. Pew, pew, pew.
hit us up. And
You're so hip.
I know. Aren't I?
You're
I'm like
so
Steve.
hip.
I'm like Steve and his back it up.
Let's maybe you.
Megan, when was the last time someone who was hip used the term "you're so hip"?
Me just now.
Just now.
So
It's a thing.
yeah. All right.
I don't claim to be up on the lingo of anything, but I just loved it. It was adorable.
Listen, I'm super duper hip. So
I have hips.
I watch the TikToks. I know what the kids are
I
saying.
watch the TikToks too. That's where I get all of my slang.
All of my news.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that too.
That too. Yeah. All right. Are we ready to bring
else?
in Travis?
I think we're ready.
I think we're good. I
Amy's
mumbled
laughing
through
at
all
us.
my
so
shit. Should we bring him in?
Let's bring him in.
All right.
Bring him on in.
Clicking
bring him on
admit.
in.
Did you warn him?
Warn him.
About us?
Yeah.
I told him we swear. So he was free to swear.
Was that enough warning?
We'll find out.
If
He's
he
correcting
drops off
Claudia.
in 5 minutes, we'll know
I know.
why. We'll be like, no, it was totally us.
Totally. We get it. We understand.
We get it. Like, no hard feelings.
Uh-huh.
We're amazed he lasted 5 minutes. I have started listening to a podcast called Let's Go to Court, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Oh my God, it's hysterically funny.
Really?
They are a hoot and a half.
A hoot and a half, eh?
A hoot and a half. Oh, for sure. They're just so funny. I've listened to 3 episodes and have cackled at every episode.
Okay.
So
Good.
I recommend Let's Go to Court. They're
Okay.
so funny.
I discovered a new podcast last night too. It's called
What is
The
it?
Ghost Story.
Oh, cute.
And it's
Oh, cute. Oh, cute.
cute.
Oh, cute.
It's a man grew up in
That's
this
the true
house.
ghost story.
I know. He grew up in this house that the house next door, he believed, was haunted, or it was
Mhm.
been told he was haunted. He grew up, moved out, blah, 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 meets a woman, marries her. Her family used to live in that house. And her great grandmother was
Never
murdered
left.
in that house.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Never left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was murdered in that house.
Oh, sad.
And so he's investigating the
Mhm.
death.
Hmm.
And then he's also telling the ghost story about the faceless lady that's in his old house and in the house next door. So I've only listened to one episode.
Hey, look, I
Travis
think we
made
found
it.
someone else.
Here I am.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, Travis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ken.
Yep. Welcome
Thanks.
to our show, our little show.
Our little shindig.
Yeah.
You may come away with a Minnesotan accent at the end of this.
I don't know. You may come away with a southern accent.
Oh, okay.
We'll just hit both ends.
I did live in Tennessee for a couple of years and I did kind of develop an accent, but I worked at Starbucks. And so I'd work in the drive through and then I'd like lay my Minnesota accent on super thick when I was taking orders. And the people would always come up to the window either hysterically laughing or very confused.
Nice. I have a cousin who moved to Tennessee probably at least 10 years ago now. And when she comes back to visit, she definitely has a bit of a drawl.
A drawl. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
fixing to draw a bath.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get comments on it a lot, but it's all right. I don't try to suppress it. Just
No,
as it is.
Why
we don't-
should
Same.
you?
We
Same.
don't
That's who you
suppress
are.
ours either.
Oh, for sure we don't. You know,
Oh,
it's
oh.
great. Oh, for sure.
It's always fun. I remember going to soccer camp at North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and we would play against other teams. And these girls were like, "Y'all don't sound like you're from Drop Dead Gorgeous or Fargo." I'm like, I mean, we can
We don't
have some
all
of
talk-
those.
I can do that.
Yeah,
I
we can go
misunderstood
into
the
that.
assignment.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Oh, for
Pregnant.
Sorry,
Oh,
Travis.
Travis.
We asked Amy if she warned you, and she said she told you we swear, and we're like that might
Yeah,
not
it
be
may
enough
not
of
be
a
enough.
warning.
Well, that's fine. Do as you see fit. I probably will also.
Sure.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Which, by the way, Travis, I really like your background. Like, I love the birds on the back wall there and the wood.
Are they
that you have on the-
ravens or crows?
Yeah. Those are crows. I did that one for my wife.
Okay.
And the little barn is a model of one of our family barns from my grandparents' farm where I grew up. That my mom had a local artist make that for me.
That's
Oh,
so
that's
cool.
awesome.
I like it.
I work
She's
in
pretty
agriculture,
cool.
so I love seeing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm. I don't do any farming these days, but
Mhm.
I grew up working in tobacco,
Okay.
dealing with corn, soybeans, hay.
Mhm.
Not a lot of livestock, but we had
Yeah.
pigs.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. So you are in Kentucky, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Because that's where the
I'm in,
episode took place. I know.
yeah, I'm in Bowling Green, which is about,
Okay.
I don't know, 15, 20 miles north of Franklin, where the episode took place.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So one thing I'm curious about, how did you get this gig?
I was
how did you
just going
find
to
out?
ask. Yeah.
So I got an email through my website, and man, I almost didn't even respond to it because I opened it up and I was like, this seems kind of scammy.
Mhm.
But there were, the sender of the email had included 2 phone numbers. And I was like, well, they did send 2 phone numbers. I'm going to just Google those numbers and
Yeah.
the name.
Absolutely.
And it came back. One of the numbers was a legit office number. So I called that, and somebody at the office answered, and I asked for the sender of the email. I don't think she's employed by the Dead Files any longer. So I won't mention who it is.
Sure.
But I asked for her by name, and they said, well, she's not in right now, but can we take a message? So it seemed credible that she worked there. And so then I just went to IMDb and Googled her and found all the stuff she had worked on. So I was like, well, maybe she is legit. So
Yeah.
I emailed her back, and she told me that she had found my work by just Googling. I think she said she had Googled dark art Franklin, Kentucky, and found
Nice.
me in some shows I had been in the area. So that's how we got in contact.
Oh,
Yeah.
That
cool.
seems like an oddly specific search.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess you have to be kind of specific when you're doing
Yeah.
that, because
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess most any artist could do it, but if you're
Mhm.
open to the idea of things that may be creepy, I guess that's a win for them, because I don't know, not everybody's into that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, we
Right.
know that.
Right. Cool. So are you open to paranormal stuff, or are you a skeptic? Where are you on that spectrum?
I'm open to it. I'm absolutely open to whatever may be going on in the universe. I don't know how convinced I am all the time. I'm one of those seeing as believing sort of people.
Sure.
But I can't say as I necessarily doubt anyone's story that I hear, unless something seems specifically off about it.
Right.
But
Mhm.
when I hear someone talking about a supernatural experience, hey, as long as their story sounds credible, yeah, I'm with it.
Mhm.
I'm open to, yeah, that may have happened.
Sure.
That may have been something supernatural. There may be some worldly explanation for it too, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we fall too.
Yep.
Not me. I'm like, oh my God, that happened. They'll totally believe it.
I'm a logic pusher, even though I've had my own experiences with different things. I still like to look for, like, okay, are we showing any evidence of things, or are we, which we see in a lot of these episodes. We talk, we've seen a lot of people bring forward, like, here's the bruising or the scratching or the things that happened, which we didn't see in this episode necessarily, but seeing some of those other things that pop through. And I like to push to be like, okay, but is there a logical explanation? And there's not always, but my brain has to connect a gap.
Mine doesn't. Nope. I just
Travis,
believe anything anybody tells me.
I want to believe everything. And so
yes,
I sometimes will, like, I'm married to a skeptic.
Yes.
And so every time I talk about anything, he'll come up with like a rational explanation for it. And sometimes that's annoying, because I'm like, I just want to believe that there was a ghost there.
Amy, that is literally my brain all the time, is having both sides. The side that wants to believe all of it, but the side that wants to challenge all of it. And so then I'm just stuck in the middle.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fall also.
Yeah.
When I hear something along those lines, I'm immediately thinking, well, what else could it be? And running through possible scenarios in my mind that may have caused it, and then battling back with the other side of my brain against those ideas.
Yep.
I think I've gotten better with this show about being more logical and like searching for it. But when we first started, people would be like, gullibles on the ceiling. And I'd be like, really?
Can I tell you guys about when I was a teacher? I convinced students that the traditional spelling of watermelon had a Q in it.
You're mean. You've probably
Where
scarred children.
in the word was that
In the
cute?
middle of the word.
Oh,
It's one of those silent letters.
They actually pulled out the Merriam-Webster dictionary and looked it up. And I remember the
funny.
kid, and he just looked at me and he goes, Piersek, you got me.
You could have been like, well, this one's an old version. It just hasn't been updated yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
we went round and round on some of those. But
Oh,
then
funny.
then he started
Yeah,
convincing
that's-
other kids that
In that scenario, I'm not going to trust anything my teacher tells me from that point forward.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
She lied about the watermelon.
What else is she
Mhm.
lying about?
it was you figure out the kids that you can have that kind of
Mhm.
like joking relationship with, and
Yeah.
there was actually gullible written on the ceiling, Megan, so it wasn't from me. It was the
I don't
teacher
believe
who
you.
was in there before me, but it was on the they have the drop tiles,
Mhm.
and on the white part that goes between the tiles, somebody
believe you.
misspelled gullible on the
Of
ceiling as
course.
well.
Of course.
So
I just
Travis. Oh.
Can I just really quick? I just realized we didn't really introduce ourselves.
Oh yeah, we
Oh,
did
yeah.
it.
I'm Amy, the one you've been emailing or messaging. And then we have also Amy, AP down
Hey,
here. We call her AP
Hello,
since I'm
other
Amy.
Amy.
I'm
And
used
then
to that too.
And then we have Megan.
Hi.
Hi, Megan.
So
Hi, Travis. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
20 minutes later after we've
It is-
chatted forever.
It is Travis, right? Because
That's
we had
correct. Yes.
Megan and I used to
Okay.
work together, and we worked with a guy with that name, and he pronounced it Travis.
Yeah.
What?
Oh no, it's
Mhm.
And
it's
he was a-
definitely Travis.
Never heard that name before. I'm not saying it's not a name. I've just never heard it before.
Yeah, so we always just used to really, really extra
Hold
pronounce
on.
it with the extra,
Yep.
like Southern accent. Travis.
Travis.
Travis, when you were talking about how you got brought into this, I don't know if or Amy, I don't know if you've seen it yet, the Haunted Mansion on Disney. They do have a sketch artist in there at
Oh,
one point
No.
who's like, did you really just see a skeleton? Like, because they go to describe the person who they see, the ghost that they see. And it's just kind of amusing. It just kind of made me think like along those lines of like,
Yeah.
did I really just draw a ghost?
Yeah,
yeah.
I've done a lot of. I mean, most of the stuff I do has some dark aspect to it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I've done a lot of dark, macabre sort of, but I a lot of like monster type stuff also. But I've never drawn a ghost prior to this, so that was a unique experience. It was
Cool.
the first time for that.
Yeah.
I thought your sketch was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
I
detail
loved
that
the
was in
color.
that, and just the like you could get that sense of like the revenge that the guy wanted, like the things that were coming through in that, where I think every artist that's been on here has been very talented and different levels, and I can draw stick figures really well. That's about
I draw
as good as I can
mean-
get.
I draw a mean circle of a sun with the lines coming out. Like, that's a sun.
My circle is never fully like circular. It's oval shaped most of the time. But really, I remember even watching it again this morning. I was like, that is really, really intense in all the details and minutes.
It was really
pieces of
good.
that.
Thanks. I appreciate it. That means a lot. It was a challenging thing to draw, and it changed significantly from the time I started to the time it was done.
Yeah,
Have you
did it.
done stuff like this before where people describe scenes to you, or do you more kind of draw for fun or
No,
kinda,
no.
you know.
Normally, I work very, very slowly. I'm a meticulous, slow artist. So I'll work on something for a little while and then sit it down and move on to something else. And I'll have any number of pieces going in a given time span. And so to just sit and work on one thing start to finish was a challenge in and of itself for me.
I mean,
How
me too, but
long-
they're mostly stick figures that take me days to go through. So
I got to make sure the sticks are just right
Yeah.
and not.
You can't have
It's an art.
one leg longer than the
That's
other.
right.
Hey,
No, you can't.
I
Or
have
then it's not
mastered
realistic.
the
Okay.
hand turkey.
Oh,
I've
that's
mastered
good.
that.
I'm still
just in
working on
time
it.
for Thanksgiving.
I'll help Jordan out. It's all right, Megan.
Perfect. I appreciate it. So, how long did it take, Travis? I mean, even when you
Well,
sat down with Cindy, I mean, what was the process like?
That's that's the thing. It was a lot longer than it looked.
Of course.
You mean it wasn't
I'm
2 minutes
sure.
long?
It wasn't 2 minutes? That's
No,
weird.
actually, I left with the piece and came home because it got late and took it back to them in the morning. But I think in general, they told me that most artists spend about an hour, hour and a half on the sketch. So I held what I was working on to that. So I think about an hour and a half for each of them. And did you all get the email that I sent?
Yes.
Okay, so there were actually two sketches because she described two separate scenes that she had seen at the house. So I ran through both of those, and then they chose the one that they wanted to use. So as far as time working on it, it was probably 3 hours total, about an hour and a half for each of them.
Yeah. Okay. Did you get to keep the designs, or did they keep the one they used? Or
no, I dropped off the originals to them there at Octagon Hall at the house.
Okay.
But seeing as I was taking them back to them, I scanned them in to myself that morning.
For your portfolio.
Yeah.
Had you ever been to Octagon Hall before this?
Yes, I had been there once as a child. We had a school field trip there.
Oh, cool.
Where they talked about the Civil War history of the place. So I was familiar with it. And I've known several people that have done overnight stays there and ghost hunting tours. That's something they kind of capitalize on there.
We noticed.
Yeah,
that did not go undetected.
I'm not sure.
Much
they
like
do
the ghost.
They do.
For the private. So they do. They like if I wanted to book a ghost tour, I could do that.
Yep, they still have. So we were looking. I looked on their website immediately after. So they have more explicit. Maybe I don't know what it was like before, but they have paranormal groups with more than 2 years of experience can still rent the whole place out. But then they have novice ghost hunts where they have a guide take them through. And in October, it's every Friday and Saturday night.
Okay,
that's dangerous.
See, there for a little while, they had cut those off where, if you just wanted to get your friends together and go out and book the place for an overnight stay, you could do that. They did it for a long time. And then there came a point a few years ago, I think, where they had stopped that, but I guess they're
back to it
at some point.
Yeah.
Well, attendance has dropped off, so we, in our opinion, think that that's why they did the Dead Files. I don't think they did it to get help. I think they did it for publicity.
Yeah, I don't think they wanted help at all. Especially
maybe
because
Yesenia.
Yeah, maybe. But seeing as, we discovered that not only are they still doing these haunts and stuff, but that they have previously,
so many articles.
And they have previously done other TV shows. They have had
several
Ghost Hunters and not Ghost Hunters.
Ghost Adventures.
Adventures. Yes. And when the guy asked, when Steve asked Barry, have there been any ghost paranormal groups that have come here that have been disrespectful? And he's like, you could say that. And I'm like, of course, because Bilbo is there.
Yeah.
Oh, Bilbo Baggins.
Because you can't mention him or he gets
say his name or he'll sue you.
Yeah.
But
so when you were doing this, did you have any who were you interacting with? Was it just Cindy? Did you do the crew? Was it Steve?
Steve wasn't there at the time. It was just Cindy and the crew, the producer or director, I guess, was there kind of orchestrating things. Everyone was super nice. And Cindy had her little dog there also, which was adorable.
She has a dog?
Oh.
Yeah, it was a little Yorkie. I don't remember what
she had a Yorkie.
The dog's name was, but it was adorable.
I have a little Yorkie too. She's the one that messaged you, Travis. I was messaging with Travis on Instagram, and I had my laptop up on the couch, and I got up to go into the kitchen, and I turned around and I saw Vivi was standing right next to the laptop, and I said, "Oh, are you going to send him a message?" And she just looked at me, and then I went about my business, and I came back, and then I looked, and she had typed something. And Travis replied with messages. ? And I'm like, "Oh my God, that was my dog."
I was like, I must have missed something. This has to, surely she means something. I don't know what I'm supposed
It's
to
our
do with
code,
this.
Travis. How do you
Okay.
She was
not know it?
boozing.
I did not have the cipher for that code. I do not
In
know
this
what
case,
was
it
going
was
on.
the dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
and
the
this time
dog,
it was the
Steve.
dogs. Yeah, I don't know how she did that, but she did.
Magic.
I watched her. And I was joking when I said, "Are you going to send him a message?" But apparently she did.
She was like,
very
okay,
curious.
she had stuff to say to you that
Hmm.
she needed you to know.
We
West
don't know
helped
what it was, but
West
No.
helped me with some messages earlier. And my colleague was like, I don't know what the second part of that means. I go, me neither.
So tell us a little bit about your website and what services you have on there and what
Um,
they
I should update that website. I don't get on there and update the site as often as I should. The art thing for me is kind of a side project, so I can't sustain myself solely from that.
Mm,
But as far as services, I do mostly oil paintings, acrylic paintings, graphite drawings, ink drawings, some mixed media stuff.
Mhm.
sure.
I do commissions occasionally, but it's pretty rare anymore for me to take a commission. It's got to be either somebody that I really love and I am just willing to suffer through this for them, or it's got to be a really interesting project, which those do come along from time to
I mean,
time. So
are dogs really interesting projects?
some of them, yeah, normally they're more interesting than people's family. I get a lot of requests. Can you
I'm
draw my
sure.
kids? Yeah, I'm not willing to. I probably could. Not going to do it though.
Sure.
Yeah, pet portraits I like most of the time. Yeah.
good. Good. Amy was saying she wanted you to draw her dogs.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna be joking around and be like, "Hey, do you do this?" Because
oh,
I just really appreciate your talent and those that have that kind of talent. Because, like I said, I don't do that. I try.
Mhm.
It's just not my thing, but I like doing it. It's just not my thing. I'm not good at it.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you like it, keep it up. I mean,
Mhm.
that's all. There's really. I don't think there's that much talent. Everybody has some level of given talent, but if you like
Not
it,
what my
just
students
stay
would
with it.
say.
That's how you get better.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
was teaching
Sure.
English in the
That's very
Middle
true.
Doing it.
East, I was drawing on the whiteboard and I drew a lobster and they asked if it was an airplane. So not great.
I could see how you could maybe get those two things confused, especially if the plane had crashed.
Yeah,
You're
no, it
so
was
kind, Travis. You are
it
so
was
kind.
it was in the air and they were like, teacher, lobster? And I was like, nope, nope.
Funny. Is there anything else you want to tell us? Like what was Cindy like? Or
Or
I
what
think
time
it's-
of
She
year
was all
was it?
business. It was very cold. It was January. It was like
Okay.
middle of January.
Okay.
Cindy was very kind. She was all business.
Mhm.
So I didn't spend a whole lot of time hanging out with anybody
Mhm.
other than the people working on the show. During the actual shooting of the sketch scene, she described what she saw, and so I kind of worked on it a little bit there. And then we wrapped up the shooting, and I went back out to the lobby of the hotel to continue working. And in my mind, I guess I didn't ask enough questions
Mm.
because
Mhm.
I thought I knew what she wanted. And so I drew that. And she had gone back to her room. So I took it over to a member of the crew and I said, how is this? Is this what you're looking for here? And he said, I don't know, let's see. And took a picture of it, sent it up to her, and then came back with a whole bunch of notes. No, this person needs to be older. This person
Mhm.
needs to be younger. This person needs to be angrier. So there were a lot of notes. And that's why I ended up taking it with me
Mm,
and
Yeah.
mhm.
bringing it back to them in the morning because the idea that I had in my mind was not what she saw as far as the details go. The basis of it, of this person doing harm to the other person without actually touching them, is what it is. But the details of the people that I was drawing there, what I had in my mind was not what
Mhm.
she saw. So I
Sure.
had to correct that.
Got it.
And then the other scene that did not get used, that one was a woman that was I guess one of the patrons there that had come to visit the house was leaving, going down the steps, and this ghost was following that person, was actually going with them.
Wow.
So I started on that one also, and I said, "Hey, do you all have a picture of the steps that she was talking about here that I could use for reference so I get everything right?" And they were like, "Yeah, yeah, here you go." And so I sketched that out and brought that over and did the same thing. They took a picture of it and sent it up to Cindy, and it came back that no, that's not right either. Everything looks, as far as the people in the sketch look correct, but the doorway is not the same. And they said, "Oh yeah, there's multiple doorways. This is the one we went in, but that's not where she saw the scene." So then I had to change the whole background. So
that would have been nice to know. Going in.
Yeah, I should have asked more questions, and their photos weren't exactly accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you watched the whole episode?
Yes.
So you know who the ghosts are and everything? The lady that was following the lady out, is that one of the two wives that Cindy thinks is there?
I felt it was Harriet.
Yeah, Harriet or Elizabeth?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't ask that question when I was drawing it, because I didn't really know what I was drawing.
Yeah, that's true.
Until I saw the episode, and at that point I was like, "Oh, I wonder which person this was," because I was assuming it was one of the wives also, but I don't know which it may have been.
I would say I got the feeling that it was Harriet because of Harriet's following people home or following people on the stairs, especially when they're not telling her truth or her story appropriately, and making her out to be a potentially a murderer when she wasn't.
Children.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably was her. Especially because you said she was following, like going along with her. And then we do know that Harriet followed Yesenia. I think her name was.
Yesenia.
Followed her home. So.
Well, and we know typically the scenes that do get drawn or do get shared tend to be ones of significance. They're not, where Mary Elizabeth or just Elizabeth, she was talked about, but she wasn't significant in the reveal aspect or in those areas, whereas more Harriet was the dangerous woman, the woman that Cindy keyed in on as, if you don't fix things, she's going to continue to be a big problem for you.
Yeah. Travis, had you ever seen the show before? Had you watched it or heard of it?
I've seen it several times back many years ago. I haven't had cable for a little while now. So it had been a long time since I saw the show. But when they asked me about it, I thought, that sounds familiar. So I looked it up, and at that point I kind of remembered, oh yeah, I've seen this a few times several years ago.
Okay.
Nice.
And at the time that you were brought into this, was Amy Allen still the medium, or did you already know that it wasn't going to be, that Amy was already gone?
I didn't know it was going to be Amy until I showed up to do the sketches. And they said, "Oh, by the way, Amy's no longer with us. It's going to be someone new now, Cindy. And if you'll just take a seat, we'll be with you shortly." Cindy and Steve are actually doing a photo shoot now. So this was very early on. Because I don't know if they shoot the episodes in the same order that they air them or not. But
I don't think so.
Yeah, I got the impression that she had just taken over at that point.
Yeah. Well, and because you said that was January, and I remember Steve saying in one of his TikToks that they haven't shot anything since January. So
except that Donnellan said that it was February or
March.
That's right.
Them.
She did.
Because we interviewed another client from this season, Donnellan, and she was in Texas.
Yeah.
So.
And it was cold.
Yeah. And her sweater was adorbs.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. That's weird. But yeah, they probably don't shoot them in the right order. Because Travis, didn't they tell you, I seem to remember in our earlier conversations that they told you it was going to be like in the middle of the season, and it ended up being the season finale?
Yeah, they did there was a lot of confusion about that. Early on, they told me the episode number and that it would be airing in September.
Mhm.
But then when I asked them in the middle of the summer on an estimated date, then I was told it would be kind of like coming up soon is
Mm.
I don't remember the exact words that were used, but I was given the impression that it would be coming up pretty soon. And I was thinking, like maybe middle to end of August.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And then that did not come to fruition. So I thought,
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe who knows what's going to happen. It'll just come on when it comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm also intrigued in Travis, something that you said about that Cindy and Steve were doing a photo shoot, and kind of that, I wonder if the photo shoot was, or the like filming of their interlude where they're like, if you need help, please contact the Dead Files, that we still debate. Are they actually in the room together or not? Because the shadows don't
Doesn't
align
look right.
properly.
It
But
looks funny.
I've also noticed, we also know we've talked about some of the artwork that they have where she's standing kind of off to his side and there's the crows or ravens flying in the background.
Where it looks like
So-
they're going to some kind of a dark prom together or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then because I do have cable and we've been watching it off of there, and I don't know how all the stills look on like Max, but when I pull up the Dead Files episodes, it still has Amy and Steve as the
Oh,
icon.
really?
Yes.
Discovery has Cindy and Steve. Discovery Plus.
Yep. And that's the Travel Channel.
Yeah, that's how I watched it, was through Discovery Plus, and it had Cindy and Steve.
Mhm. Yeah, Max shows Cindy and Steve, but sometimes when you're scrolling through the like when all the shows are there, it'll sometimes have a picture of the old Steve and Amy. But then when you go to the show, it's Cindy.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, so did you get any sort of inkling or anything about what was going on behind the scenes with Amy departing and Cindy coming? Because I know there was some of the clients that we've talked to anyway were like, yeah, we could tell that like
there was tension.
There was tension between Amy and Steve. I know you didn't meet Amy, or Steve, but like, was there anything you heard or anything that anybody said that gave you any?
No, not really, because I didn't speak with Steve, so I wouldn't have gotten anything from him. And as far as the crew were concerned, everybody was really cordial and very nice, but they didn't talk about any of the ongoings of the show around me.
Sure.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think they would either, but some of the clients have reported that they've been told some things that I was like, oh, I'm surprised that they would say that. But
Right.
It's probably somebody on their way out that said it.
yeah,
That didn't
somebody who
care.
doesn't
Yeah.
give a shit anymore. Be interesting to see what happens, if it gets
If
renewed.
they get renewed or not.
I mean, they should be filming pretty soon if they were going to. So, and if they haven't selected new people to help yet,
Mhm.
they're probably not going to be filming anytime soon.
Right.
So-
Because
Travis, kind of skipping over what we don't know yet, what got you into your artwork? Like, how did you discover that was something that you enjoyed, and how did you kind of foster and bring that through?
Well, I've always just had an interest in it. I mean, as soon as I could hold a pencil, I'd rather hang out by myself and draw as opposed to doing most anything else. So
Yeah.
when I was nearing the end of high school and it came time to decide what am I going to do with my life, I immediately gravitated toward that. So I went to school for a couple of years, pursuing initially graphic design, and then I got into painting in school, and I thought, well, I guess I'll just be broke for the rest of my life because I like this painting. But after a couple of years of school, I lost a degree of my vision, so that now it's kind of a thing that I do when I can. And when my vision doesn't allow, I just don't. So I had to find something else to do.
Sure.
So fortunately, I've been able to do that. And so now I just kind of I do it when I can. I try to work on something every day. I don't always succeed at that,
Yeah.
but it's enough to keep me busy and to, develop some minor income from it.
Sure.
Okay. What do you do else? What do you do in your work life?
I'm a safety coordinator for a retail chain.
Oh,
Very cool.
So there's some blood and gore on that side of things also.
Uh-huh.
oh, interesting.
Megan's favorite.
Yeah, I love it.
Gotta watch out for those bandsaws now.
Oh God.
Oh, yikes. I bet you've got some stories.
Yeah, I can't tell any of them, but
Right.
No.
We're good. I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Anything, Travis, you want to cover? Anything, ladies, any questions you had?
He's answered pretty much all the ones I have.
And even ones I didn't know I had.
Right. And
Yeah.
even ones that came out when I didn't know.
That's right.
That's how this rolls.
All right.
Well, Travis, I just want to say thank you so much for your time.
Mhm.
We really appreciate it. So thank you so much for your time, and we are really
Likewise.
grateful.
Yeah, thank you so
So am I.
much.
It was fun.
Good.
Good.
All right.
All right. Well,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Travis.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you all.
All right. Bye.
Have a good
Fun.
night.
You too.
Bye.
Attempted murder on a ghost, cursed paintings burning houses down, and lighthouse keepers disappearing without a trace. The world is filled with astonishing stories that will make you go and shrug, saying, "Well, I don't know what's going on here, but it is certainly strange." My podcast, Certainly Strange, is a collection of these bizarre tales. Each episode I tell a separate story and share my own unfiltered opinions and theories about it. If this sounds interesting to you, come and join me on this journey through the strangest parts of our history.
Oh yeah.
Barry was a Barry the bullshitter is what I
Barry
call
the
him.
bullshitter.
He's full
Barry-
of shit.
Bear,
I love how-
the Kentucky Truth Seeker.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. Who gave himself that nickname? Guaranteed. I love how Steve is like, now Barry, like just very Brooklyn with how he says it.
Which, when he says the way he said it a couple times, I was like, did he say Mary?
Oh,
Mhm.
Barry. Oh God,
Yep.
every word out of that dumbass's mouth just pissed me off more and
But-
more.
So I kept feeling like I've seen him before, or like I know, or something. But I think there's a character out there in some, thriller movie, haunted movie, or something like that that's almost based off of this guy. I swear,
Oh.
because his voice,
Mhm.
his speech patterns, the way his hat and all of that stuff just feels so like I've known this person. But I don't think I've ever actually seen him before. But I do feel like there was something, I don't know, there was something
Seemed
about it
familiar.
that I was trying to figure out, like, is he laughing at some of this stuff because he just doesn't know how to respond to things? But that's not the way that it felt.
Right.
No.
It kind of just felt like, yeah, I almost got hit in the head with
Yeah.
this piece of fence. By the way,
Which, by the way, I just happened to have.
I just happen to have it right here.
that piece of fence, I don't know if you noticed the bolt that's on
Mhm.
it. That doesn't, I don't know how that makes sense in a fence,
I
because it was giant. It was
I
almost
don't
as
know
big
how
as the piece
fences
of
work. So
yeah, it could have been a giant fence. I don't know.
north, south, you guys, south, north. I don't know.
uphill, downhill.
Uphill, downhill,
both ways.
right, left.
But anyway,
I don't
yeah,
know.
but then going
Yeah, no.
along with the like 300-pound table that was picked up and flew across the room at him. But then when he talked to Cindy and he mentioned it, it was more like, yeah, it lifted up and came towards me.
yeah, and none of this flying
Which
across the
still
room shit, like you
bullshit.
said
And
to
then of
Steve.
course, what was Yesenia was like this 200-pound corner thing
Bookshelf or shelf, yeah.
just moved. And I was like, oh,
Up
you
and
guys
over.
are super lucky. Like, why don't you go buy a lottery ticket with how many times you've avoided death?
Megan had a good point in there that I was like, as I rewatched it, I was like, It does feel like it's all rehearsed because every single one of them said, well, I got scratched and it burned.
All
Steve at one
good.
point was, yes. And
Thank
Steve
you.
at one point was like, yeah, that's pretty common.
Yeah. So we were chatting about this while we all rewatched it this morning and we're chatting about it. Okay.
So here is our dramatic reading of our WhatsApp messages
From this morning. 10/29/2023.
As some of us were rewatching at the time. And yeah.
We will be reading as ourselves.
Yeah. So I started with rewatching this morning, and man, oh man, just in the first talk with Barry, and yeesh. I also definitely saw someone walking towards me out of the corner of my eye. Wesley is next to me and stared in that direction as well.
And then I said, yeah, I'm doing that right now too. Meaning watching the show, not seeing things out of the corner of my eye.
And then I said, the stick got me, meaning the fence post.
And I said, I happen to have it right here.
And the table, like, are you kidding me? How convenient that he had the stick right with him.
Right.
Like, and just in my pocket. This is why I wear cargo pants, to keep the stick. This 3-foot stick with a bolt coming out of it.
Not all of that is in the chat.
Not all.
No.
I just ad-libbed that.
To which I said, I know. I call so much bullshit on that table.
So much. A 300-pound table, sir. Make your lies believable.
And I said, I'm not even that far yet, but if Cindy told you to stop the investigations, and Barry's reply was, well, we really can't.
That'll be really hard.
It
We gotta keep
supplements
the
our lights on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, he's not remotely serious about it. He just wants the publicity.
And I said, why contact us now? Quoting, why contact us now? Well, attendance is down.
Yep. That's why.
This guy feels like he was in a drama group or something. He's so dramatic when he talks about the experiences. People are attacked, scratched.
Oh my. And then I said, they don't have any concrete examples or evidence. It's just super vague. And I said, it's like they Googled, what do ghosts do? And regurgitated it. Because it was so vague. It was like, well, I was over here and then I got scratched. And then Yesenia was like, well, I got hit in the head and there was a big old bump on my head for 3 days. Where are the pictures, Yesenia? If it was so traumatic.
Yeah. Something we had talked about. So taking a break from our chat, but something we had talked about in one of our last episodes with Brittany was that there was no evidence. And we've talked about it before, that they have enough time to know that the group is coming. So if there are things to take pictures of or that you've contacted them, they usually like to have something that shows something. So back in, I said, I guess we can tell people visit away on this one, but also they will only charge $5 a ticket and hope for other free will donations.
And I was replying to Megan or to Amy saying he feels like he was in a drama group. When I said, I know every time he tells a story about something, I say, great story, bro.
Because, and then I found $20.
Yeah. Because he always sounded like he was telling a story, but there was no beginning, middle, and end of the story. There's nothing. It was just a sentence. And I'm like, okay, great story.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing that. Idiot.
And this is where we decided that we should read all of this because I said, someone should read all of this later. Laughing emoji.
Yeah, because we're hilarious.
Yeah.
And then my favorite was Cindy's reaction when Yesenia's like, well, I've been spreading rumors about the woman. I think Harriet is who she was.
Them.
Yeah. And then Cindy's like, so you've been spreading rumors about her? And she's like, I mean, essentially, yes. No, not essentially. Yes.
Yep. Well, we've always joked about that Harriet doesn't like me. Well, why doesn't she like you? Well, I guess I've been, there's rumors about her murdering the child.
And then I've been giving tours. I will repeat those. And Cindy was like, well, what are the rumors? And then she's like, well, that she had something to do with the child's death and maybe even the death of the first wife.
Yep.
And then Cindy was like,
yeah.
Well, that's why she's pissed.
And this had me thinking because this means that Harriet already knew Andrew and his first wife.
Yep.
Mhm.
And their children. What was she, the nanny, maybe?
Or just even somebody in town, because she
Mhm.
was younger. So Andrew's wife died. I don't remember what year they said she died in, but the house
She
was
was
built
29.
the
She was
house was built
29
in
years old.
1847. She died at the age of 29, and 5 months later, his 1-year-old son fell down the stairs and broke his neck.
Mhm.
And then in 1855 is when he married Harriet.
Mhm.
Okay, so there was a decent gap.
Well, from when they moved into the house. So we don't know. I didn't capture when Mary Elizabeth had passed away, but then he died at the age of 47 in 1866. So if he's 47 in 1866,
He'd
12
be
years
36,
earlier.
35, and
So
yeah.
he was a little bit older, so older than both of his wives most likely, but
Mhm.
not
which is
like a
common, though.
Jurassic where we see the 19 to
And 70-year-old.
40. Yeah. And or like our one last week where she was 30 years younger than her
Yeah.
husband.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting. And I almost wondered if like, Mary Elizabeth's spirit was there as well. If there was like, okay, well, my kids are still here, so I'm going to keep an eye on them. Because it didn't seem like she was a problem, just more of
Mhm.
she was there. So I wonder
Like
if she,
watching out.
Right.
we don't know the relationship between her and Harriet. Maybe they were friends. Maybe it
Yeah.
was like, you'd see a lot in those lines where it was a sister. And so the one sister passed away, so he marries the
marries
next
the other one.
sister
Yep.
or
Yeah.
the brother or just
Or
somebody
it's a
who's there
close
because
friend,
there's already,
or
there's
because they already
kids
know
and-
them. They know
yeah.
their family. It's
Yep.
easier to do than to just start courting someone all over again.
Yeah.
Which if Harriet's spirit's at unrest with people saying that she had something to do with potentially the death of the 1-year-olds, and she's like, no, that didn't happen.
Mhm.
It makes it seem like there was probably people are trying to create a drama that didn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
Because it tells a better story
Right.
when you're trying to encourage people to come and visit your location.
Exactly. Well, and that brings me to Mary Elizabeth. AP, you mentioned her. She was not in the episode.
No.
She is one of their children who reportedly died at either the age 7 or 11, depending on which article you read.
Mhm.
However, there's even some speculation that she did not die, as she showed up in a census many years later when she was 23. Now, and she was living with her sister, the one, if you believe Mary Elizabeth died, then it would be the one surviving
Mhm.
sister or child of Elizabeth and Andrew.
Mhm.
But I thought, because she was living with that sister, Fanny, her name was, I don't remember her full name, but her nickname was Fanny. Maybe they had a child and just named her after her sister who died.
Well,
Maybe.
see, and I got a little confused because I feel like at one point I got confused a couple times in this episode because
Welcome to my life.
There was a couple times that they used
Daily.
like they said that Harriet and Andrew had 7 children. Then Steve later on says, well, she raised 9 children on her own.
Mhm.
And then the talk of Mary Elizabeth, they mentioned Mary Elizabeth, but that I felt like it was about the wife, but she went by Elizabeth, but her first
Mhm.
name was actually
Oh.
Mary.
Oh,
That's what I thought. I thought the wife was Mary.
But then,
Elizabeth.
the article, yeah. So she went like, because I feel like Mary Elizabeth was in there at some point, but they just kept calling her Elizabeth.
Mhm. Yeah, because even in the reveal, Cindy's like, and I said
Elizabeth.
Lizzie or
Yep.
Elizabeth. Yep.
And then,
yeah.
but then
I
there's
don't
an
think she
article
was
that's,
Mary.
yeah,
I found her grave and I found Harriet's grave, and Elizabeth C. Akers Caldwell is mom's
Okay.
name. And then she had a daughter, Mary Elizabeth.
okay.
And then she also had Frances Ellen, who is the one that's Fanny. And then
Yep.
AJ is the little boy that died
Yep.
on the stairs.
Hmm.
But some people have found, and I have links to all these articles. I will put them in the show notes if anybody wants to dig around. I did find that they had Andrew Caldwell kept a family Bible, he called it, or they called it.
A lot of families did.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
yep.
that's, I just never heard it called a Bible, but like a log of
Well,
It's
'cause
usually
they wrote it
it's
in the
written in
Bible.
a Bible.
Hmm.
Mm. So this family Bible never mentioned Mary Elizabeth dying.
Yeah.
However, it mentioned her aunt dying on September 1st, which is the day that they say Mary Elizabeth died.
Hmm.
So if he's going to do a diary entry that his not his
Sister-in-law.
aunt, sister-in-law passed away on this date, wouldn't he have also made note that his daughter died on that
Well,
day?
and we
If she
talked,
did?
we found this in articles, like Amy said, where it was supposedly in the basement, and both, and Cindy said that she felt uncomfortable in the basement. In some of those articles, other people had stated that they felt uncomfortable in the basement, that supposedly 7-year-old Mary Elizabeth, her dress caught on fire and she burned to death in the basement.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How would that not have been talked about in the episode?
Right. That's a pretty brutal way to die.
Yeah.
That kind of went Brooklyn and ended
brutal.
Southern.
Yeah.
No.
I think that my guess is that did come up and it was just cut out.
But then that's where also too, was the little girl called Lizzie by chance? Or was, who knows?
Because there's so many nicknames for Elizabeth.
Yep. Yeah, she could have been. Because Cindy did say she heard Lizzie.
Yep. And I had wrote down that we start off strong with Cindy going, this place is creeping me out. A lot of lost souls on this property. A lot of death and secrets. So much grief. And, we talk about enslaved people. We talked about essay of enslaved people, that there is a register. Well, there was a register with at least 3 biracial children under the age of 10, that it's assumed that those are probably Andrew Jackson Caldwell's kids. By the way, if you know anything about the history of Andrew Jackson, our former president of the time, not a great person to be named after.
Right. None of them were. None of the presidents in that area were.
Well, he was one of the worst. He was the one who started off the Trail of Tears in a lot of those cases. And
Love
and
it.
even worse too.
Let's
Lots
not
of
talk
things.
about it. It makes me sad.
That's why I'm trying to be vague, but
Yeah.
So, but when I heard his name was Andrew Jackson Caldwell, I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Super. I mean, I know it rolls off the tongue nicely, but
nothing flows like Andrew Jackson Caldwell.
But the one thing that bothered me, Steve said it, the archivist said it. They all said he built the house. He didn't fucking build the house.
No. The enslaved people did.
The enslaved people did.
He made people build the house for him.
And they made the bricks by hand.
Yeah.
And it kind of drove me nuts. He designed the house. They said he was a mason in some of the articles. They didn't. I don't think they said that on the show, but in some of the articles
he might have been a mason, but he wasn't a mason of his own house.
He didn't do the work.
No.
One of the articles I saw called him the architect of the house, so he designed.
That's better.
Yeah.
But that was credit being given in some of that space.
Well, I mean, think of the time. They didn't.
Oh, I know.
And to them, they weren't people. So why give them credit?
And that's,
that's their point of view, not ours, by the way.
Yes.
We think that's reprehensible.
Really bad.
Yes.
Super bad.
I thought it was just interesting that if you made this a drinking game in this episode, the amount of times that they said things like, it's an important piece of history that needs to be protected. Even Cindy said it at the end. There is some importance to it of knowing where we've come from so we don't repeat it.
Right.
But
not romanticizing and glorifying
and not glorifying it the way that they are.
Correct. There are things on both Union soldiers and Confederate soldiers did horrible things and some did not do horrible things. But in those cases, Sherman's march through the South, horrible as well. But it was just really interesting kind of how they framed it. But then again, Amy and I were flipping through some articles and we see information about how this was supposedly a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, they didn't mention that at all.
And that it was a school, and we heard that it was a hospital, and it took care of some Confederate soldiers, and some are buried on the property. And the fact that we have at least 13 of the enslaved people's graves actually marked was impressive.
Yeah, it is.
There is some legitimacy behind it. But if you're wanting that, why are you only charging $5? Hi, Gracie. $5 for a ticket. Most other places that I've gone to that has had some sort of museum aspect in showing the life of whatever, $15 to $20.
Because they want to make their money by the paranormal investigations. They don't care about the history part of it. They don't care about the museum. Their money.
I think they care about the museum, but I think they know that their dollars are coming from the ghost hunters.
And they're all volunteers.
Mhm.
This place has only been open for 23 years.
Yeah.
It opened in
Because
2000.
it opened in 2000.
Yep. And Barry's been there for 13 years. But we also found the information about him that he's been a paranormal investigator since the 70s.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was conveniently left out of the episode.
Anybody else also noticed that all of their experiences were very much alike? Not just the talking about the scratches or the hitting with a burning, but they all saw full body apparitions. And a couple of times Barry said, "Oh, we even had people say it's so great you have reenactors because they see soldiers, slaves, and ladies in gowns."
I was just gonna say, how many times do you think he's said that at a party?
Yeah. It rolled off the tongue so easy.
That was very rehearsed.
He's said that before. That's not the first time he's saying that.
In fact, I bet if we watch one of the other shows he was on, he probably said it then too.
You know, people often say it's crazy that you have reenactment actors. And I say, well, we don't have reenactment actors. Shut up, Barry.
Same with the
story, bro.
When Steve asks, prior to us finding out about his being almost hit with the piece of fence post that hit
that he just happened to have. Oh yeah, deflected off of the branch.
Well, because it deflected off the branch, and I figured I better bring it back to the house so they can't get a second shot at me.
He probably has it on display in a glass case.
He probably does.
Steve asked, "Well, how big's the property?" 300 acres, Steve, and he said, "It's a paranormal crazy house out here."
Yeah.
Oh God.
Which we both like for title.
Of
the episode.
Yep.
Paranormal crazy house, because it sure is.
And he was tackled by something that was not visible, but he could hear it coming at him.
I was like, it's probably an owl.
Right. It's giving me Brittany's I got punched in the face.
And I'm not saying that things didn't happen, but maybe not quite as
dramatically.
Yeah.
It just the
Since
over the
when
top
do
feels.
people hear ghosts charging them?
I mean, you could hear when you hear somebody run up the hallway and then their footsteps run back the other way or something like that. But
they're not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe Barry as far as that stick can throw him.
I had a question too with
I have a lot of questions.
When Cindy was talking about how I think it was the revenge man.
Yes.
Who grabs onto somebody's back of their...
Yeah.
Oh, that was Harriet.
A heart attack.
Was that Harriet? Okay.
Yep, Harriet.
And I was thinking, how is it that ghosts can walk through walls, but they can also grab a person or scratch a person?
Because they have to... From what I know, they have to put forth the energy to do it. It takes a lot of energy for a ghost to become physical enough to grab people. From what I know, which isn't a lot. And so that's why a lot of times if people are being feeling that, the room gets really cold because the ghost is drawing on the energy to touch people. Not that I know heads nor tails from anything, but that's just what I've heard on the internet.
Internets. Yeah, I've heard that too. But I guess I feel like you can't, if you're describing that as something that is happening, you're kind of having both ways. They can walk through walls. How come their hands don't go right through a person's body?
Well, maybe
when they go to grab them.
Yeah. But maybe that's where the scratches come from, is because they're trying to, but they get,
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm not a ghost yet, so I can't tell you the answer.
No.
They Googled, what do people who have haunted, what do they report? And then they just reported that.
Well, they just probably watched the show of
because
past episodes.
I'm sorry, 300-pound tables.
Yeah. I call bullshit.
Be like a book. They threw a book at me, or something believable,
or a fence piece,
or even just
with a bolt in it that deflects off a tree branch.
I don't go with the whole that it was picked up and thrown at him, but maybe it did shift. Maybe there was,
I think it could have shifted. Sure, that's
some
what he
of
said in the
that, or-
reveal.
Yeah, because the way that he said it to Cindy,
Mhm.
again, how things were cut, maybe it's different, but it felt like he walked back
Yeah, I felt that
Mhm.
too.
what he
Yes.
stated.
Because when he
Um,
was talking to Steve, he was very adamant that it was picked up and like thrown at him.
Thrown across the room.
Yes.
Yeah, because Steve was
Flying
like,
across the room, I believe he
Yes.
said.
you could have been killed.
Mhm.
Oh, I know, Steve.
If it had actually happened.
Yeah. But luckily, Steve, I'm bullshitting you. None of this happened.
And you know,
Luckily, Steve, I'm lying to my ass, so I was never in danger of being killed.
it just I the whole, there's probably is a lot of energy there because it is
Mhm.
history, and it's got a lot of
Oh,
historical.
I believe it's haunted.
Oh,
For
hell
sure.
yeah. And
For
all that
sure.
stuff. And I guarantee people have had those experiences.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
the way that, and even the scratches or the hit on the head or any of those things that Yesenia and Isaac were sharing as well, likely could have happened and
Mhm.
probably did to some extent. But the way it felt like it was a script written
Yes.
to dramatize, and
Mhm.
what supports some of those thoughts is looking at their website and seeing, like I looked at the event for last weekend for their novice ghost hunt that they were
Mhm.
doing,
Mhm.
looking at some of
Yeah.
the articles that have been written, one as of yesterday, October 28th, 2023,
Mhm.
that was talking about this new, like, almost like a pub crawl, but a spirit crawl kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's go to these different Kentucky haunted locations.
Mhm.
And if you check off your passport, you can be entered to win a sweatshirt. Like literally that is
Mhm.
something that's happening on there. And I sent that
Yeah.
link to you both earlier.
Mhm.
But that's where you lose me a little bit on,
Mhm.
did you want help? And
Right.
hey, Cindy said, hey, just make sure you vet the people that come in here. She didn't tell them not to stop doing it. She
Mhm.
agreed that there's some history here and that there's some really unique things, but she said to vet the people, and it doesn't feel like they took that.
No.
They just
I
wanted
wonder.
they wanted the check off to say,
Yep.
we
We'll
can
do it.
still do it.
Yep. I wonder if she said that only because she knew they weren't going to stop. And so rather than tell them,
Mhm.
you need to stop this, she's like, fine, but at least try to make it safer.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. Because in the beginning, when she was doing her walkthrough, she said, "Oh, there are
This shit needs to
paranormal
stop."
investigations. That
Mhm.
needs to stop."
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think that she just was like, fine, they're not going to stop, but can you at least
Yeah.
take some precautionary measures? And they're
Yeah.
like, sure. But in reality, they don't give a fuck.
We're not going to do
But
it. We're
They
going
I
just
think
say
that
wanted to
this-
add it to their credentials.
Yeah.
But I think that there's been times, even with Amy or like other places that do offer, ghost hunting, adventure,
Mhm.
experience, whatever you want to go with it, where it is that vetting process. Don't use the Ouija board. Don't
Mhm.
don't anger,
Mhm.
don't
Be respectful. And if you're
Yeah.
bringing
yeah.
in
And that was
Bilbo, he's not going to be respectful in
No.
any regards.
No.
And that episode was in 2014. I sent that link to both of you as well,
Mhm.
of which episode that was.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if Cindy necessarily walked back what she had been thinking, because some of it's off the cuff when she's doing the walkthrough, but more
Yeah.
of a, you can do this safely in these
Mhm.
situations where these spirits do want to interact,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but they want their story told properly.
Right.
Mhm. Right. And they're not doing that because they don't give a fuck about the spirits, in my opinion.
Well, so one of the things that I thought about, and which is why I went to look on their website, other than the ghost hunting part of it, was are they putting anything out there to correct the story that's been told about Harriet?
Mm.
True.
I couldn't find
Because
anything.
I didn't see anything out there,
Mhm.
because my thought would have been, if I was in Yesenia's shoes, I would have been like, Harriet, I am so sorry.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was a story to tell that it got reactions. I
Mhm.
am so sorry. We're going to post something on the website to clarify and to
Right.
showcase that you were a hardworking woman who, maybe we wouldn't all share the same beliefs,
Right.
but she worked hard. She loved her husband. She, from what we can tell, she was not a bad person. She,
No.
she fought against, the Union soldiers at the time who were not great people that came
Right.
into that area.
And they cut her hand
Took
off.
her hand. Yep.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Which I saw it was her left hand. So it made me wonder if she was left hand dominant versus right handed.
Oh,
maybe.
could have been.
Don't know. I just noticed that, it's like, well, it was nice that they didn't take the right hand if she's, right hand dominant. But if she was left hand dominant, then
Yeah.
her
Well,
life
yeah, if she was
just even
actually
more.
fighting with them and she had like a sword or something, that would have been that hand.
I think it was a disciplinary.
Oh,
I think it was she went
to
off
make a
on
lesson
them
of her.
about something and they made it this is my opinion. They made an example of her by saying,
interesting.
if you're going to if you're
Speak
going to do
out.
like that, we're going to literally take your left hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
could be.
War's brutal.
but
Sure
yeah,
is.
that's where Harriet, you can't hear us necessarily, but
We
it's
believe you.
we're sorry
we're
that
yeah.
your story was not told properly, as so many stories throughout history are not told properly, many of them being anybody who is oppressed.
Yes.
And we're sorry that they're exploiting what they think is interesting, but might not be true.
She sounds like a hell of a person. That
She
there
does.
probably was some more interesting stories that you could find.
And why wouldn't you want to
potentially.
do that? Like, why wouldn't you want to glorify that? Like, you know what? She fought against the people that she believed were oppressing her, and she fought. And then after her husband died, she ran a farm as a woman with one
Until
hand.
1916.
9 kids.
1916, she sold the property,
showcase
and she
that.
died at the age of 92 in 1920. Like,
Which is she survived the Spanish influenza. I mean, showcase. It's not like she was boring and you're having to make shit up about her.
I wonder if it's because she was such a strong, obviously intelligent woman running and doing all this stuff on her own, that's why they're making up stories about her.
probably.
Because we can't, especially if the story started back when women were third-class citizens.
Wait, tabloids what?
Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if those stories were made up just to cut her down because she was so strong.
Because,
Well, yeah. We know throughout history in other parts of the world that if you didn't have certain body parts, you were just a name in a book.
Yep.
Maybe.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Next week will be our season finale. And we're going to just kind of shoot the shit and talk about our thoughts on the last year of our show and the last season anyway, which I don't know, is not a full year. I don't think it was a full year. I can't remember when season 4 started, but
time is a social
anyway,
construct.
Season 4 started about the time I joined, right before this season started.
And that was at like episode 60 something, but I don't remember what time of year that was.
June.
Was it June? Okay.
Yeah,
so
end of May,
months.
early June.
So that will be our season finale. We will talk about highs and lows of our show and
lefts and rights, norths and souths.
It's and north south,
Ups,
and
hills,
north stars,
and downhills.
Yep.
You go south
and
north.
Reoccurring themes and tropes and things that we loved about the Dead Files and things that we did not, and
just all of our thoughts in general. Which
we'll talk about what we're going to do next, even though we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We're still
Maybe
open
we'll know by
to
then.
ideas. Yeah, we're still open to ideas. And
we
then
won't know by next week, you two.
Shut up, Amy. You don't know.
It could happen.
I know the three of us.
We could get real organized by then.
Well, organization is one thing, but making decisions is another.
Well, we are. Well, Amy and I are Libras. I think. AP, are you a Libra? No, you're
I'm a Libra Scorpio cusp.
On the cusp, yeah. So
we're kind of known for indecisiveness.
Yeah, because we have to balance everything.
Right.
So drop us a note and let us know what you liked. What are your favorite parts? What are your things you didn't like? What do you think? Oh, God, please don't ever do that again.
Right.
Other than our Scottish accents, we will not be doing that again.
We didn't even do it once.
No,
we tried.
We tried, sort of.
Fail.
That was not good. So we already know we won't do that again. But yeah, let us know.
Let us know. We're open.
Send us a message or whatever. Maybe we'll read it on the show. If you leave a message on our website, maybe we'll play it on the show. And as always, send us your spooky stories.
Yes.
We are always looking for those. I think we have used up all of the spooky stories
think
we've
we
received so
have.
far. So if we're going to do another listener story episode, we need
more.
them
We need it.
stories.
Could I also throw out a request for holiday stories? Because there are some damn good ones out there we know of, whether it's whatever your family celebrates, whether it is spooky related or it's like, well, there was this one time.
My drunk uncle.
It's always the uncles.
There's always a drunk uncle.
No,
we will happily dramatically read it.
Very dramatically.
That would be a fun holiday special.
It would be.
That would be a fun holiday special. Yeah.
We can
send your stories.
All right.
So then we are probably going to take some time off. Well, we're going to definitely take some time off, but during that time off, we will also be recording episodes for the next seasons. And then we will start up with fresh episodes in January. I believe it was
January 4th, I think, was the date.
If we're going to keep it on Thursday.
All right.
Right. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a suggestion for which episode of the Dead Files we should cover next, or if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds podcast network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.